now to introduce the case with shown by the draw.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we must acknowledge in the realities of the execution of your political interests that sometimes the ability for individuals to coalesce behind ideals and banner could potentially mean that they reach their outcomes a lot better. Because notice that in opening government, there was no illustration to indicate why individuals who rely on this ideal of hope, the candidates that they want to fight for, will lead to any policies that you propagate in terms of the ideals that you push forward, in terms of acknowledging the dynamics in Congress and how do we best achieve social justice as well as justice for all individuals, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we're going to engage in opening opposition, to see that we think that the issue of having multiple parties often discounts the ability for individual voters to participate, often discounts the ability for individual politicians to participate, and often creates a situation in which where we subjugate societies to specific issues that are partly popular or problematic rhetoric that often doesn't account for perhaps the overlap in policies. Before I move on to my speech, 3 points of responses. One, is America currently represented? Because that's the premise in which opening government wanted to rely their case on. I disagree, because I don't think you can homogenize the two candidates that are currently running for presidency into talking about the spectrum of choices that individuals currently have in status quo, given that two candidates isn't the end or isn't the primary start of when individuals participate, given that we have primaries to determine what sort of candidates do we even want to begin with, given that we also accounted for a third party candidate. He might not be that great, but he's still there, right? But what we would say in status quo is that America has seen a higher turnout of involvement from individuals, not only supporters of specific candidates or parties, but also voters signing up, or the awareness to individuals from the youth signing up in order for them to be a voter when November 8 comes, ladies and gentlemen. But secondly, I would contest that even under the Democratic Republican Party, that you already have a variety of views that people can currently fall into, right? So just because you're in the Democratic Party doesn't mean you have to be absolutely left. In fact, we would say there are candidates who acknowledge perhaps there's overlap in terms of acknowledging sometimes the right to have valuable views as well. That's why you have Democrats that say that the right to abortion is important, but also propagate the right to access gun ownership, ladies and gentlemen. And therefore, we think that the ability for them to coalesce behind these parties allow for them to acknowledge the overlap in their identities. Secondly, this right to believe, right? We also have to say that you must also evaluate outcomes, ladies and gentlemen. That's what Jasmine's POI was extremely important in this debate, because accounting for what sort of issues that are currently pushed to the forefront is that we think what you're going to sideline are potentially perhaps really important things like social justice issues that we think if the metric is common ground, as the Prime Minister wanted to investigate, we have that on the outside of the house as well, where parties use language of common human experiences, or secondly, acknowledge overlap between things like racial issues and overlapping with economic issues, or education, often things like culture, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, we don't think that relying on hope and passion is sufficient in this debate. Lastly, on bipartisanship, right? And we're going to agree on open opposition. Perhaps some degree of bipartisanship may occur. But what we would say is that you must also acknowledge the process when it comes to talking about legislation, in that there are many different nuances in legislation that often pushes individuals from different parties to come to the middle ground, or to have some degree of concession in that, right? Perhaps they may disagree in the ideologies, or perhaps they may disagree in the execution of specific policies, but at the end of the day, they still try to come and have a discussion about how do we best move forward with these policies, right? That's why some Republicans could value Obamacare, but just argues that perhaps the execution execution of Obamacare is not as great, but still feel that healthcare is important, ladies and gentlemen. Secondly, let's talk about the problem of their role, right? When it comes to multiple political parties, often we would say that how they will currently be divided is three ways. One, either they choose to adopt a niche ideology in order for them to be able to co-opt the voters that Prime Minister was to talk about. Two, they stand behind minority identities. Or three, often rely on single issues. The problem of this is, ladies and gentlemen, is that what we would say that the outcome of this particular fracture of multi-partisanship is that often there's oppression of smaller parties, right? In that, if you even want to argue that perhaps you have some degree of coverage, that in the reality of American politics, individuals with connection or individuals with visible identifier are still going to be the likely candidates that they're going to vote for anyway. But in our world, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why we give face to other candidates and other ideals is that we have things like primary debates and primary elections where you have centralized information that does not drown out the participation of other individuals in status quo. But secondly, when it comes to political and financial backing as well, is that it allows for people to coalesce and participate in that, right? So we would agree in a world where you have political and financial backing of a specific party, that it eases the participation, especially for individuals who may not be as popular or who may not be the first viable candidate. That's why we supported when Bernie Sanders decided to participate in the Democratic election as a Democratic member, even though he was mostly independent before this particular general election, because that granted him the ability to have political traction in status quo. What that also did, ladies and gentlemen, is that it pushed for a concession from the Democratic Party in terms of the policies that he was talking about, because it became overwhelmingly popular in status quo. That's why you see Hillary moving away from her initial stances and adopting a lot of the values that Bernie Sanders talked about, and that's why it's important. Secondly, we think it's harder to achieve actual change, because in order for you to have legislation in Congress, you need high amounts of individuals who buy in, right? But what we would say is that you create direct echo chambers now, where individuals coalesce between the three identities that I was talking about earlier. We would say that in status quo, even when you have internal disagreement between the Democratic and the Republicans, is that it becomes work under that side of the house, because it's compounded in the policies that you want to fight for. Often there's no acknowledgement of overlap, because you are so staunch in your specific ideals and your specific beliefs in comparison to the concession that I argued earlier. Secondly is that there's no collective change, because people can't coalesce behind a particular identity, because if you choose to be slightly left-leaning in a party that says you must be absolutely left, often you are rejected on face, because there's no acknowledgement that perhaps it doesn't have to be a binary even under the common identity that you fight for, ladies and gentlemen. Thirdly, we would say that it becomes difficult because politicians don't have to defend multiple issues in their candidacy, in that they often choose ideals that are either simplistic in nature or populist in nature, that often just rely on persuasive rhetoric rather than accounting for substantive nuance in arguing for specific policies. So what happens during elections? It becomes difficult for voters, in that it becomes difficult for you to retain the ability for people to acknowledge perhaps this value in particular candidates, in particular ideas, ladies and gentlemen, because the issue is split apart across many different things, right? But lastly, we think that it creates fractured areas as well. Is that often when you control specific areas in specific smaller parties, is that they're excluded from each other, the common narrative that perhaps there's strategy in the debate that, ladies and gentlemen. And it becomes difficult, because right now you sacrifice interest in that you want to say we must hold steadfast in our passion and our belief for our specific ideals, that acknowledging the fact that perhaps posturing is sometimes important.
Thank you.
Thank the leader of the opposition for the speech. Now, the new case for opening.
Chair Oji assumes that the demolition of the two-party system will immediately dismantle any form of monopoly of power that comes from some parties and dismantle suppression of minority ideals as well as ideas. We don't think that's true. Because the only thing that they were able to argue is that in spirit we will have more choices, not whether or not those choices will actually be meaningful or those choices will actually lead to policy changes that they want or issue changes that they want or better political engagement. We think all of that we're able to prove is that sometimes we have more political parties. People can choose which political parties they particularly want to engage in. But will that lead to them being able to forward those issues and on a larger platform? We don't think so. We don't think OG was ever able to prove that. We told you that there are specific benefits of a two-party system that ensure that minority rights as well as niche issues are catered to within the system. Why is this so? It forces them to be a multi-issue party that cares about issues like racism, women's rights, healthcare, and foreign policy, all within the same banner of Republican or Democrats. Why? Mainly because they have to win the monopoly of the votes. What does this mean? They need a majority of the vote, which means that if they lose out on the women's vote, they also lose out on the eventual nominee and the presidential win. Then they lose stronghold or they lose their majority. So it means that they always have to cater to every layer of society, because a small marginal change will also means that they lose the larger population, right? So it means that this specific two-party system allows them to care about minority issues and allow them to care about every layer of society. Secondly, because even if they don't win the nomination, they don't win the presidency or don't win majority, they also are within the government and have to govern the country as well, which means that they all have to have a say when it comes to foreign policies, women's rights, and all those things. But on their side, they allow for single-issue parties that can deviate from caring about things like foreign policy, women's rights, and things like that. Why is this problematic? Because that means that within Congress, you can have some parties that care about some issues and some parties who can completely disengage from those issues. This is really problematic because one, you don't have a check on important issues like foreign policies. You don't have a check on what happens when somebody chooses to invade in a different country or things like that. Because those single issue parties have no reason to care or no incentive to oppose the views that come from the majority party, right? That's when you have true monopoly of ideas within the Congress and true monopoly of power within the Congress that's actually meaningful. No, thank you. But we think that means that it's problematic post-election, right? So we think only our side we have better check and balances because the direct opposition of two parties means that they have almost equal power in order to oppose each other, and they always have the incentive to provide check and balances on each other's policies that results in better political discussion in the long run and better mitigation between those things. Secondly, let's talk about the structures that allow for coalescence of values within the Republican and Democrat camp. Because they can say that we have more single-issue parties that can cater for these niche values, but never actually talk about how they need to make all those issues mainstream or more discussed within a more popular political narrative. We think the direct engagement when it comes to primary debates and the fact that every candidate have to go and win votes within all the different states means that there is a direct engagement and direct comparison of those values, whether niche or whether populist, between those parties. That means that under their side, Bernie's policies will never gain any traction because we never could compare them next to the more popular Hillary at that point in time. So Bernie would remain 6% in the voting poll forever and will never be able to be compared with Hillary's policies. We think only then we're able to understand that Bernie's policies were indeed important. But even if Bernie did not win the nomination, we've already told you that we forced Hillary towards a concession and forced her to move away from her existing policies. This is better as opposed to them being in two separate parties where they cannot agree and cannot form any form of concession because they're from two separate different political parties, as opposed to Hillary being within the Democrat, and because she also wants to win the votes of Bernie's voters, which means that she has more reason to form more of a concession towards the things that Bernie are safe, it is safe, right? So we think that compromise can only happen under our side. We have no response, and Jay already told you about that. But they say, but super delegates. So we understand that there are some structures within both Democrats and Republicans that have things like super delegates. But we think that it might happen under your side as well, in which your new political party might also have super delegates, and that might be bad. But we think that super delegates are also a lot better compared to disengaging those political parties, because at the very least, super delegates are also checked by the people. They also, to some extent, listen to the voices of the people in which they represent, as opposed to under your side, where all these smaller political parties have no direct engagement. We think that's much worse and much harder for them to gain any form of traction. No, thank you. So we think next we also say that it's harder for minority groups to create any policy changes as well. Like for example, if you're like conservative African Americans or liberal Christians or things like that, it's very hard for you to push for any changes within the Congress. Because at least under status quo, we have some incentive for bipartisanship, but under your side, smaller political parties will always be excluded from any parliamentary votes or any Congress positions, right? We think it's very problematic because this means that niche issues push people into niche areas and mean they're unable to fight within Congress go there.
If you argue that in order to win, you need to appease everyone, why would single issue parties win and enter Congress?
Look, that's what I'm saying. Under your side, you have single issue parties, and some of them might win because they are able to pull some areas, some specific area, or some small minority votes. The problem with that is the minority will assume that change will happen from that single party group, but then they won't be able to achieve any meaningful change given that they don't have strong power within the Congress or the Parliament. And instead, we also think that it creates exclusion for small states controlled by smaller parties. Under status quo, the unique system of the two-party system allows for every state to be cared for by either the Democrats or the Republicans. It means that every state has some stake in the governance, and the government has to care about funding and healthcare about every single state. You create a unique problem in which you have some minority states controlled by smaller parties that are actively excluded from the system, will never be able to get very basic funding and welfare, and those states will forever be oppressed and leave out of the system. We're very proud of those.
Thank the Deputy Opposition for that speech. Now, extension from Moving Government and Member of Government.
Mr. Chair, in status quo, we progress towards a world where we have different ideas and different issues that we want to fight for. We think it is strategic for the structure to change now because there's a massive distrust within the voters towards the candidates that they want to fight for. Therefore, the stance coming from side opposing government is simple. We believe that under our side of the house, at that point where you dismantle this structure, you create more incentive for minorities to participate in the voting processes in a more democratic environment, right? Therefore, we're okay with having debates for different parties having debates all together, and we think that people can make judgment through those kind of debates. Before I move on to my substantives, let's just engage the materials coming from side opposing opposition, right? The first presumption coming from their side is that, at that point where you dismantle this structure, people will now only focus on a single issue as opposed to these larger issues. We don't think that is the voter psyche, because when it comes to big policies, no thank you, affecting the economy and also the livelihood of people on the ground, we think that people can make reasonable assessment as to who they want to fight for at the end of the day. But the difference is this: when you dismantle the structure, you highlight different individuals that want to fight for specific issues in itself. We think that in status quo, yes, perhaps you have Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton who also want to fight for big But when it comes to disenfranchised individuals and also minorities, for instance, no thank you. In the past, Hillary Clinton doesn't want to bang on this, fight for the ideas of policies, wanting to fight for the middle class, for instance, or breaking down the Wall Street. But at that point, she then transitioned into fighting for what Bernie Sanders wanted to fight for in the first place. We think it's extremely problematic because you have a shift of principle within your side of the house. We think that at least on the outside of the house, no thank you, you will create more trust towards the people to vote for a particular person, want to fight for these single issues, but also the larger issues that affect particular individuals. We think this debate is about the disenfranchised individuals and ethnic minorities and who will cater to them the best. We think that those issues can be highlighted more under our side of the house. Therefore, when it comes to voters like you, we don't think they will then abandon all the important issues like the economy or healthcare, but we think they can also make reasonable assessment as to which individual who can also fight for those small issues, for instance, women's rights or transsexuals, the LGBT movement as a whole. Therefore, the balance of probability, we can also get these policies that also affect people's lives at large, that the one that they want to fight for. No thank you. So, secondly, rebuttals will be integrated within my standards. While side-opening government talks about the process in which why it's important to have the structure being dismantled, we're going to be the first team who will tell you how under outside the house we will garner the participation for disenfranchised individuals and minorities and show you how it will actually happen. But secondly, we will also tell you how under our side of the house, you will create leaders who will be answerable to their policies and would hijack the narratives of other individuals. No thank you. So first, how do we garner the participation of disenfranchised individuals and also minorities? Why? Because in status quo, people are apathetic because they know that there's already a bare minimum in which the government or particular individual will cater to, for instance, things such as the economy. So right now, they know that, these single issues, for instance, the natives within America will feel apathetic because they know that, it's okay that they can cater to things such as my economy, as opposed to there are more things that they want to fight for. I think at your side of the house, we get people who will be massively, do not have the incentive to vote in the first place. We think that a vote is meaningful and that vote is important because it shows data and what society actually needs. Therefore, on the outside of the house, you create a participation and data and government seeing what these particular individuals and what these minorities want at the end of the day. Under your side of the house, you have people on the fence, people who actually probably want to vote, probably don't want to vote. As opposed to under our side of the house, we create those incentives for individuals to want to participate in the democratic process. No thank you. They said that under our side of the house, it's hard to fight for minority issues, right? We think that it is more likely under our side of the house. We think that even if these policies won't be materialized under your side of the house because they want to talk about the Congress and how it will be materialized, we think at least under our side of the house, they know that these minorities know that their voices will be put in the Congress, will be voiced out, and will be fight for in the Congress, as opposed to you have individuals who probably want to take up a lot of issues, probably Hillary Clinton will talk about, I want to support women, I also want to support a lot of other things, and it is not actually voiced out in Congress. We think it is much more better under outside the house when people can judge who are the person that they want to put into the democratic process before that opening.
Why is ideological consistency the metric to judge your participation as a politician without ever accounting for the fact that you may not reach policy outcomes?
Ladies and gentlemen, because under your side, we agree probably those policies won't be materialized. But the important distinction is this. Those things can't also, we can't ensure that those things can also happen under your side of the house. The difference between side or closing government is that at least under our side of the house, your voice will be ensured to be voiced out into the Congress. People will actually discuss about your issues. We think that there will be then consideration by a lot of people to make your policies materialize. So secondly, let's talk about how under our side of the house we will create leaders who will be answerable to their policies. This is why they will relate to their POI. Why is it important? Because in status quo, we can see in politics where Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump make concessions or make policies that are not in line even with their principles or what they believe in the past. And we don't know if these policies will materialize in the future because they only want to take up issues because they think that is popular and they want
So on the comparative, now on your side of the house, you have candidates who want to fight for everything and no assurance that whether or not those voices can be materialized in the Congress. On your side of the house, people will now have less incentive to vote because they are unable to determine whether or not this will be materialized in the first place. The massive distrust will still exist under your side of the house. Probably those policies will not be materialized under our side of the house, but really that voices account and vote actually mean something for the discourse to happen. With that, the focus.
And a member of Robert for the speech and not introduce the extension for cycling opposition and a member of opposition is then
Members of the floor, it's important to acknowledge that democracy is not just about having somebody you like and being able to cast your vote in the name of that person. It's also about what that person can truly do to represent your interests, to ensure that there is some form of coherence and inclusivity that exists within the nation, which is exactly why, coming from CG, we are perfectly fine with status quo, the binary system existing. Two questions in my speech. Number one, why do you provide a much more inclusive democracy? And number two, why their policy isn't good for the nation's interest. All of my rebuttals are integrated. So number one, why provide a much more inclusive democracy? First off is because we're not the ones who end up screwing over the minority. Notice that the entire government bench took for granted the idea that more parties meant more interests are catered to. As though this automatically means that all parties exist in the same size, all parties will win, all interests become nationwide policies, and then everybody becomes president. I think first off, you can come down. Because I think what's more likely to exist is that given the fact that political parties exist in different sizes according to the demographics that they end up representing, means that the minority parties will be the ones that get screwed over because minorities get represented the least. Why? Minority parties as it is already have less of a following by virtue of being a minority. Therefore, they have less resources, they have less outreach when it comes to campaigning, right? So it's questionable whether or not your policy will go above and beyond, oh, now I have a candidate that I like. That even in the best case scenario that these minority parties get to govern themselves, number one, it's very much in their own small region, which is very insular, and a lot of the times the way in which you survive is also based on a policy that exists nationwide. I'll explain to you later on. But secondly, is that your policies never get to translate into a nationwide policy, right? How do we ensure that we cater to these minorities? Because I think the contention that came from government was that currently we don't give a rat's ass about that. Not true. We do cater to them, right? Given the fact that there is a will that exists within these big political parties, given the fact that they want to garner more voters because they are also competing with another big political party that also has a huge number of following and has a lot of resources. The fact that you may actually care about these people by virtue of having some principles in line of believing in the liberty of the individuals and wanting to champion that even if the elites on the top don't care, at least the people on the ground do, and they're bound to pressure the people on top to care for these minorities on the group. But also the fact that if you don't, and if you don't tap into these groups of voters, another political party, which is your opposing political party, will end up doing so, and for sure you will lose out. But moreover, within the point at which we've already established that these big political parties have an interest to cater towards minorities and try to be as representative as possible, means that when they do, like the current Democratic Party that exists within the United States, means that they have more of an outreach, they have more resources to materialize those intentions to help. The fact that they can actually materialize and status quo things like workshops for those living in the ghettos, or welfare for single mothers, or considering hiring of minority races or minority of alternative sexual preference by companies to consider as CSR. These are things that can only be done by big political parties when you don't fracture them up because they have those resources as well as the outreach. But secondly, right, we think that your smaller political parties become more susceptible to lobbying.
What happens in status quo? Lobbying sure happens by all companies, other MNCs and other like Jewish lobbies, and they try to buy out these candidates. Maybe they are able to buy out some candidates, but I can assure you they cannot buy all of the candidates within these political parties because no company has that much money. Why? Like what you see happening right now within the Republican Party, even though they are trying to fund some candidates, they can't fund everyone, given the fact that big political parties are expensive to buy because they have a big following, because they are desperate, they have a lot of resources, even just by virtue of the people that run for candidacy are people who come from the upper class, or the fact that they have donations even just from their voters means that they aren't as vulnerable and not as desperate to get money from those oil companies, right? What happens in your world? When these smaller parties have smaller following, smaller pool of funding, means that they are much more desperate in comparison to had they been a bigger party where they, collectivize all of their resources. This means that they are more likely to accept that lobbying, but moreover at a much cheaper price. What does this mean? It means that a lot of the times these political parties, small political parties, will end up being bought over and monopolized by a lot of these companies that end up lobbying, which means at the end of the day, your smaller political parties don't even actually represent the people that they promise to represent because they end up being slaves to the entities that ended up giving them that funding. No. Why is this the most important argument? It's important because democracy only matters insofar as the transparency of the people that represents you. Right? And we think that transparency and accountability much better happens in a world where you have big political parties. Only in a binary world you get not just all of this ability to at least refrain away from lobbying, but also the ability to have nationwide debates where people are actually able to pinpoint what are the manifestos of these political parties, what do the candidates want, as opposed to having 20 different political parties with 20 different candidates, not being able to identify who should be asked what questions and what do they actually stand for, means that it's a lot easier for people to escape liability and to not answer the difficult questions that society has on the ground. Sure.
In a world where it is actually dangerous for presidents or candidates to utter the words Black Lives Matter, wouldn't more attention to smaller parties on a bigger platform be better than no attention at all?
That's not true. It's untrue that just because political parties right now don't, like, say, for example, say Black Lives Matter, that they mean let's not care about Black people. That's untrue. They do care about the African Americans, and they do whatever it means to help give them their rights, as what I mentioned before. And in your world, even if those candidates have the ability to say, yeah, Black Lives Matter, like who's gonna listen to it, right? You just basically talk about it, and your small region will be like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, and then nobody else cares in the rest of the region. So yeah, big world. But lastly, I think that there needs to be an understanding of how this is not representative of the will of the people. In America, we have this whole first to pass the post system, where, like, say for example, if you have 4 candidates who garners the required votes first, end up getting into power. It's not a runoff between the top 2. So in your world, what happens when there are 20 political parties, say for example, and the top 4 have similar ideas, but because you're splintering up those groups, the 5th political party gets a seat in Congress, which means that it's not really representative of the people on the ground, the majority of the people and what they want. And this directly deals with Mahirah's argument that now it creates vote apathy. No, that's not true. People won't want to vote now because they feel it's pointless. You're more susceptible to lobbying. We probably don't get to materialize it into policies. It doesn't really help. But lastly, why this disrupts national policy is because in a world where you have big political parties and they get to govern you in comparison to smaller political parties, means that you get to make nationwide policies. Like, if you notice that Louisiana is poorer than Texas, you can say we need a redistributive policy to take our money from Texas into Louisiana. In political parties, there's like every man for themselves. Texas will say screw Louisiana, Louisiana will be voiceless and toothless, and that's not something that is actually good for democracy. Thank you.
Then a member of opposition from the speech and now to sum up the debate inside government or identify the number. Stand as we should.
Look, government has always stand for how the voter stands for and what they feel and how you want to make sure these people participate in this particular situation. What we told you from closing government is very simple in nature. The fact that you feel that you are being represented, that you don't feel empathy to opt out. Situation where people who wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders, but they feel that there's a conspiracy against Bernie Sanders, that they refuse to vote for Hillary and they want to opt into Trump, or even they don't want to vote for both and they opt out into that particular situation in the first place because they feel that the best representative for them is Bernie Sanders in that particular situation. We believe that the fact that the binary system exists, that these people cut off all of this discussion that happens in the first place, that cause people who supports one political politician and want them to be, but when those politicians got cut off, they do not want to participate at the end of the day. I believe that's the harmful aspect in this situation. What I'll engage is a fair situation of what kind of issues should be discussed, and since they want to talk about how does it actually impact Congress and the kind of change that's going to happen in today's society. Now let's talk about what want to talk about in the first place. They told you that situation where there's a lot of resources equal to better outreach and things that these smaller political parties that can occur. First off, even though they're small political party, we can see that they also function in certain small areas. But the fact that they propagate things like LGBT rights, there's also LGBT people within New York that will listen to people in Minnesota and Texas, for instance, that those outreach can still exist. Just doesn't mean that they want to fight for the small kid in Brooklyn and only people in Brooklyn will listen to that particular kid in the first place. The same issue can be discussed across the board. This denies the idea of the fact that they only want to talk about these are only particular single issue that will particularly be discussed. But let's take that case as the best case scenario. What happens if they only discuss one particular issue? We say that the political, like your own government, your own governing policy, economic policy, and social issue, what you stand for, are three different things that can coexist again. I can be LGBT, but doesn't mean that I only talk about LGBT. When people ask me, why are you very good to the poor? That's an economic policy that I need to talk about as well. Means that they will still need to talk about whatever policy across the board, and they won't just stand for that one particular policy. But then what happens under their best case scenario later on? What happens and how does it affect towards Congress? Their best case scenario of what this issue will stand for right now is that there will be some sort of compromise that's going to happen in society. Like how Bernie says, like how Hillary suddenly says that they want to talk about how she wants to stop towards the middle class and stuff like that. But let's see what happens here. Other people don't actually take that flight, or take that flight in a very minimum case. That's why a lot of people don't really trust Hillary fully taking up that flight, because after she said that and Bernie talked about it, she never brought up the issue again. And people from Bernie supporters don't see that she talked about the issue or really care about actually taking that issue into consideration in the first place. So your consideration or your so-called, oh, I can compromise on my policy, does not mean that that's what people wanted in the first place. That doesn't mean that these people will still bring those ideas to the end of their life. But what happens under our side? Sure, these people may get smaller vote, but at the same time, for the whole political discourse, it doesn't mean that once you are cut off, like whatever that stands for will not be particularly discussed at the end of the day. Whatever Jeb Bush wants to fight for will not still be discussed, until the end of the election, because those particular politicians still remains in power and still be in the run. It doesn't mean that just because they are losing out within that binary, that this political Republican or Democrat can cut off all these politicians and cut off the discourse that they want, just because there is some sort of compromise under that, and that then the issue will never be brought up again openly.
So under your side, because of your stance on ideological purity, you split the vote between Hillary and Bernie. Isn't it better under our side, where you're more likely to have a more united liberal front, where you have Hillary adopting Bernie's policies as well?
No. This is not a discussion about whether liberal or conservative should win. This is not a discussion about whether LGBT or non-LGBT should win. Even the fact that some people believe that Hillary does not represent the middle income people, they're liberal, but she's only white in this. And the other side says that Bernie Sanders is liberal, but stands for the middle class. And more people believe that the middle class is more important. Then we need to support Bernie Sanders in the first place. You don't need to unite these people in the first place, because they stand for different ideology. They stand for different views in the first place. You don't need to unite them in the particular instance. That's why best ideology of saying that the top four stands for liberal idea, but certainly 50% gets, even though Republican gets a vote in, is nonsense. Because even if you say that there's 5 parties and that DP party holds the majority compared to the other 4, it's fine. Because that is the majority, even if it's by 30% and the other one is like that. They don't care because those people already stand for different ideology in the first place. But what is the nation interest right now? What kind of policy that will be discussed? Because many want to come out and tell you that just because there are 20 parties or 20 people that are talking in this kind of discussion, then you will never have a good political debate and people will sideline all of this idea in the first place. We say no, it will never happen. Why? Because now each people will stand on their own and get what they wanted in the first place. Means that even in the political discussion or political debate, those people can still voice out. And even if they don't participate in the political debate, they still have the incentive to voice out their concern and garner support to their party because that's how politics work in the first place. We say that even if you want to consider their best case scenario, people taking lobbying groups in power, we see that's fine. Because you want to know why? People who take all lobbying groups in the first place, take all lobbying groups that has the same ideology and incentive as them. Because most likely they're not, all of this corporation has the same idea when it comes to policy that they want to be implemented in the first place. So they don't deviate from the kind of idea that you want to have all because they do stand for certain, seeing the same principle at the end of the day. We see the discussion needs to happen and discussion will only happen when you don't sideline all of these politicians, when you don't, when what these politicians want to fight for will still be discussed at the end of the day. Under their side, politicians will be the kind of discourse will be cut off just because this politician is not the main part, is not the main front runner of that political party. The discourse can only be about whether you're liberal, whether you're conservative. We say that it doesn't matter because there's a lot of issues that's happening in society and you need to acknowledge the spectrum. The kind of discourse that happens is only happening when you acknowledge the spectrum that exists and you want to discuss everything at the time. Sure, you cannot talk about everything in Congress, but the political discussion needs to happen during presidential debate, and you cannot be cut off and be shut down just because their politician is not the front runner anymore, and that's why we believe that closing of the issue.
And the government do it for the speech and not this wall. Sure, it's that. Thank you.
Democracy isn't just about trying to represent people. It's about finding a form of governance that works. And the problem with side government is that they have a lot of principles of representing people. But principles are things that only the privileged can stand for because the consequences never matter to them. 3 things I want to say. First is which side is more representative in this debate? Second, is it that given which is better? Is it a more localized interest that is likely to happen, and I'll tell you why, versus a more nationalistic interest that exists in status quo? And third, I'll take into account the best case scenario for minorities from side government, the amalgamation of the both benches, and I'll tell you why we're better off. But before that, when I move into the issue of who is more representative, you must understand firstly, the characterization of these corporations, these parties are ones that are struggling financially and are struggling to stand out because there are so many of them. What does this mean? A, this means that your representation doesn't happen because they're more susceptible to lobbying. Our glib response of saying they have the same ideology as the corporations is not enough, but the characterization is they're going to flip because they're so desperate, as opposed to big political parties which can afford to stand by their principles because they're not as desperate. So what you have, by the way, is corporations able to buy off politicians for a much cheaper price than they currently have to do because they're more desperate. This means they pick off multiple smaller parties. It's like the concept of unionization but applied to political parties. You have multiple small parties, it's easier to pick them off piecemeal and take them into your own policies. This means you don't represent people, you represent big corporation interest eventually as a result of your policy. And I think this alone is something that should give closing opposition the win, because essentially all the arguments for minorities, etc., never get taken in when big oil corporations don't give a rat's ass about all those kinds of things. We get smaller parties, all of them having to go ahead and obey big corporations. So that's your representation absolutely gone. But let's look at this like, oh, principle, right, guys? I can vote for people I want, that's why it's really good. And then we told you what? Look, often people have similar ideologies and it's hard to differentiate. So second, third, fourth, fifth candidate might have the same ideology and the first candidate is someone very different. The majority doesn't want that person. Side, closing government's response is, we don't care, they have different ideologies. Then how is that representative if the majority didn't want the candidate who won? Who is he representing if he's not being able to represent the greater amount of people within the population, right? Then itself is a problem. And by the way, the arguments of minorities feeling participative in politics is contingent on their feeling that there is any kind of point to it to begin with. Since we have shown you that it's not going to work because people are frustrated, but also people you vote for never get into power, we would argue that yours is the one that makes people less participative to begin with. Moving on to the second issue of more localized interest. Before that, I'll take it.
If your outcome is that big corporations will take control of these small parties and amalgamate all of them, how does your benefit or your harm of splitting the votes and all the harms related to that apply?
Why are they mutually not exclusive? Like, I'm not so sure. Why is it that, like, because corporations have an interest that people, corporations have the interest, but also those are corporative interests. I'm pretty sure there are also other kinds of ideological differences that people have that are not corporation oriented. So I think politics is a lot of plethora of issues, and I think both of those can apply. I don't think that's like, either or, right? So secondly, in terms of how this operates, so what did we tell you? So why is there likely to be localized interest? First of all, given that these are a lot of small parties with limited resources and specific ideologies because they want to stand out, what is likely to happen is it makes much more strategic sense for them to focus on certain areas that they are likely to win, as opposed to dispersing their limited financials throughout the country where none of them win because none of them have enough avenue to be able to get the air out. Which, by the way, means two things. One, this means by the way, the argument of representation doesn't make sense because a lot of smaller parties don't have the ability to even inform people of their existence in their policy platforms. So the discourse argument is very weird. But secondly, more importantly, when you have localized interests, because you have some parties representing certain regions, so you'll have some parties dominating in southern regions, some parties dominating in Central America, some parties in North America. What does this mean? This means that politicians now their parties are region-based and not national interest-based. So even if Republicans are crazy in the South and have tea parties, they have to compromise with the more moderate Republicans in the middle, right? And that is a good policy outcome for national interest. This goes away. The point at which they're only representing one region means they're less likely to make compromises for the other parts. And sometimes national interests do clash with local interests. So for example, redistributing oil money from the South to make redistributive policies for people in Georgia and Atlanta, for example, right from Texas to Atlanta. Those are things that can only happen on our side when the same party exists in both parts of the country and wants to represent both of those kinds of regions. That doesn't happen under their policy. That's how this goes over minorities. No, thank you. But secondly, and I think, to be fair, opening opposition said the following, that it's harder to get things passed through Congress because so many parties have to compromise on something. Opening government says, but guys, we will take the trade-off even if it takes longer because it's more representative. Here's where closing opposition comes in. That's not a worthy trade-off for two reasons. A, because issues are time sensitive. The longer you wait to make one, like abortion law pass, means more women suffer. Healthcare reform, illegal immigrants suffering because Congress is in deadlock, right? Those are time-sensitive issues that you must prioritize. But secondly, it's not even true that it just takes longer. In fact, 20 parties trying to put through one policy means often reform doesn't even happen to begin with because they can't agree on something. And that's something that nobody should be willing to stand for. And representation doesn't come through votes. Representation comes through actual meaningful changes that affect people's lives. That doesn't happen under their side. But the final thing that I want to say here is this. Let's look at minorities. Absolute best case scenario from them is one small region gets one representative into parliament for them, which by the way doesn't mean a lot of media attention because nobody cares about one small party. In fact, this means two things. One, it means that a lot of other parties no longer cater to that minority because they've already lost the vote to the minority party that exists for them. So what we say is that yes, it might be harder to penetrate a bigger form of government, but that's the only way to actually enact change. And in fact, on the our side, big parties do have an incentive to cater, because more of the minorities party cater to the minorities. So Democrats have an incentive, for example, to cater to African Americans. And we see this today. Hillary and Bernie both want the disarming of police and demilitarization of police as a policy platform. Those are changes that only we can provide by making sure and penetrating big political parties. Smaller parties don't have the power to be able to do those things. It might be harder to penetrate the big parties, but that's the only way to enact change for minorities.
Yes, you were speaking of the idea like different cross shake hands and give me some time. Also, often say sometimes.